This is insane. Taehyung at Soundcheck D-2 made everyone cry without realizing it. Hello ARMY. Welcome back to BTS Fans Channel. This time, I don't want you to just hear this story. I want you to step inside it. Deeper, slower. As if you were really there, standing among thousands of people. Breathing the same air. Feeling the same heartbeat. Witnessing a moment that will never happen the same way again. Because this wasn't just a sound check. And what happened that day can't simply be called practice. Everything started like usual. The venue gates opened earlier than expected. The lucky armies who had access to Soundcheck D-2 walked in quickly. Some almost running. Some holding their breath. And others smiling so wide, unable to hide their disbelief. Inside, the atmosphere felt different. Not as crowded as the main concert. Not as loud. But that's exactly why it felt closer, more intimate. The lights were still half on. The stage was fully visible, without heavy effects. Cables, instruments, crew members moving around, everything felt real. This was another side of BTS. One that not everyone gets to see. Some armies softly called out the members' names. Others were busy recording. And some simply stood still, trying to absorb every second. Because they knew, moments like this are rare. Time moved slowly. And then, the lights dimmed just a little. The chatter faded. Small voices disappeared one by one. And in an instant, the entire venue felt like it was holding its breath. Footsteps echoed from the side of the stage. 1, 2. Then silhouettes began to appear. And among them, without any announcement, without dramatic spotlight, one presence immediately felt different. Kim Taehyung. That day, something had changed. He didn't come out with explosive energy. No wide grin, no exaggerated gestures. He simply walked, slowly, calmly. But every step carried an invisible weight of emotion. His gaze was deep. As if he was thinking about something. Or maybe, feeling something too complex to explain. And strangely, without a single word, the audience began to feel it too. The music hadn't even started. But the atmosphere had already shifted. This was no longer just a sound check. It felt like the beginning of a story. When the music finally played, there was no heavy drop. No grand intro. Just a soft melody. Slowly filling the space. Taehyung stood at the center of the stage. Microphone in his hand. His shoulders slightly relaxed. His breathing steady, but his eyes said more than anything else. A few seconds passed. And he still hadn't sung. But in that silence, everyone started to feel something. Like an emotion hanging in the air. Like a story waiting to be told. Even before the words came out. And then, he began. The first note. Soft, deep. And it pierced straight through. Not just into the ears, but into something deeper. A part of the heart rarely touched. Every note felt heavy, yet beautiful. Every lyric carried meaning beyond what it seemed. This wasn't just singing. It felt like he was opening something. Little by little, without saying it directly. In the front row, one army covered her mouth. Her eyes began to fill with tears. On the other side, someone slowly looked down, trying to hold back emotions that suddenly surfaced. And without anyone realizing, that feeling began to spread. Not hysteria. Not screams. But silence, filled with emotion. Taehyung didn't change. He stayed there, singing every line with the same sincerity. At times, he closed his eyes, as if he wasn't looking at the audience, but feeling them instead. And at that moment, the line between stage and audience slowly disappeared. There was no distance, only a shared emotion, flowing in the same space at the same time. In the middle of the song, his voice trembled slightly, just a little, but enough to make everything feel even more real. And that was when some armies couldn't hold back their tears anymore. Not entirely from sadness, not entirely from happiness, but from emotions too overwhelming to keep inside. Taehyung took a deep breath. He looked down for a moment. His hand gripped the microphone tighter. And in that second, many people realized this wasn't a normal performance. This was a moment where an artist was truly showing his most honest self. No filter, no layers, just him and what he felt. The song continued, and every second felt deeper than the last. Time seemed to slow down. No one wanted it to end. Some armies held each other's hands. Others closed their eyes, letting the voice flow through them completely. And on stage, Taehyung remained there, finishing every note, as if he knew this mattered. Not for the performance, but for something greater. When the song finally reached its end, the atmosphere turned completely still. No movement, no voices, only his voice, fading slowly with the last note. And after that, silence. A few seconds that felt incredibly long, as if everyone needed time to breathe again. Then, one clap was heard, soft, followed by another. And within seconds, the entire venue was filled with applause. Not loud, but sincere and full of feeling. Taehyung lifted his head. A small smile appeared. Not a stage smile, not a performative one, but a warm smile, like someone who knew that what he felt truly reached people. And maybe that's why this moment felt so insane. Because in a place meant only for technical rehearsal, something far deeper happened. Something unplanned. Something impossible to recreate. A connection between an artist and thousands of hearts, beating in the same rhythm. When the soundcheck ended, the lights came back on. The crew moved again. Everything looked normal. But for those who were there, nothing felt the same. They walked in as fans, but they walked out carrying something. A memory, a feeling, and maybe a quiet change inside themselves. Because what they witnessed was that behind all the grandeur of BTS, there are small moments that mean the most. And Taehyung, on that day at Soundcheck D-2, without grand effects, without trying too hard, managed to make that entire space pause for a moment and feel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story, Army.